Okay, hello everyone. I can see people joining in the webinar. Welcome to our pre-departure briefing for EU students at the University of Portsmouth. I will just give a few more minutes for people to keep joining, and we'll probably make an official start within the next 2 or 3 minutes. So sit back, relax, get comfortable, and once a few more people join in, we will make a start. I can see another big group of attendees who've joined, so welcome to you too. As I mentioned slightly earlier, we're just going to give a couple more minutes for more people to join the webinar, and then we'll make an official start. Thank you for your patience.
I can see we've got good numbers rolling in. It's really great to see. We never know how many to expect. We have bookings, but then we never know how many might show up in the day. So it's really great to see you all here. Thank you.
Okay, I think we are good to go. So thank you everyone again for joining us on this pre-departure briefing for EU students at the University of Portsmouth. My name is Theodor. I'm the Global Officer for Europe, and I have a few of my colleagues here today with me. So Ruth, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Hi, yes, thanks, Theodore. Hi, everybody. My name's Ruth Walton. I may have spoken to you over email or maybe done a Duolingo interview or something like that over the last few months. So, warm welcome to you. As I say, great to see lots of you on. I'm one of the senior global officers here at the university, and I look after obviously students from Europe, but also Central Asia, and the Americas. Anna, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Varnes. I'm the Senior International Student Advisor based in UOP Global at the University of Portsmouth, and I'll hopefully see many of you when you arrive here on campus. So my role is supporting with visas and immigration and also running orientation and the social and cultural events program at the university.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, both of you. We also have Radu, who is one of our current international student ambassadors from Romania. He's going to join us in a little bit, and over the presentation, he will talk to you a little bit about his personal experience. Oh, I think he's here. Hi, Radu. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Teddy. Yeah, my name is Radu, and I've been a student here at the University of Portsmouth over the last 3 years. I've just graduated the other day, actually, and I'm happy to guide you in more detail about the student life and any questions you might have about that. Theodor, if you can allow me to share my webcam, I will as well.
Okay, I think we will do that in a second because I
Sure.
need to send you a different link, but thank you. And that's a good thing to mention that Radu is not actually John Travolta's brother, as you can see on his screen there, but we will sort out the camera in a second. So thank you, Radu. Okay, so what we will do today is we will talk about the University of Portsmouth, obviously, and we will talk about what preparations you need to make to get here and what you can expect once you get here. We'll also talk about your visa and kind of the details about the graduate immigration route and more details around that area. And after that, you have the opportunity to ask us questions in the chat. So any questions that come up, if you want to keep them until the end, or if you can't remember them, write them down somewhere. And if anything comes up in the chat or the Q&A session, we will look at it at the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is a nice, great area view from to Portsmouth from above. You may know some of this already, but I always think that it's good to remind people, especially if you are now definitely coming to join us. The Portsmouth is 70 miles from London, so it's an hour and a half by train, and most of the coaches as well. So it's fairly easy to get to Portsmouth from any of the airports. The university is based in the city center, so it is as I said, as it says in the city center, so you don't have to travel to the university and back to great distances when you're studying with us. If you're staying in the university halls of residence and accommodation, they're all based around the campus and in the city center, so it's very easy to get around to get around the city, and it's also very cheap and time saving for most of our students. There are very good transport links to the rest of the UK if you want to go and explore London and maybe go to places like Stonehenge or Bath or Cambridge. You can do that yourself, or you can also join any of our organized trips for international EU students, which we can talk about later on if you're interested into. And the seafront location on the south coast of England means that we live by the sea. So any of you who are sea lovers, you will get to spend many walks around the sea. Some people jog there. When the weather is nice, they do picnics, different festivals. So there's a lot of activity going on at the seafront that we all quite enjoy taking part in. These are some of the university rankings and success. As you would know, a lot of universities will be talking about their statistics and their achievements. So you can have a look at those. The one that I would focus the most, and the one that I always like to talk about more, is the last one on that slide, is the graduates in work percentage. So 94% of our graduates are either in work or in further study, which means they're doing either masters or PhDs within 6 months of graduation. And this shows that the courses that we offer and the career centers that we have are very good in preparing students for finding employment later on. And I personally think that this is one of the top indicators of a good university, is how good the university is in making its students employable after that. So a few key dates for you to remember. The airport pickup booking deadline is the 6th of September. So if you want us to come and pick you up from the airport, and Anna, you can correct me here if I get anything wrong, the airport pickups take place only from Heathrow Terminal 5, was it? Terminal 3, thank you. So from Terminal 3, and they are only on specific dates, the 9th and the 10th of September, as you can see on the website. So if you find good prices and if your flight plans allow this, you can make sure that you're there on those 2 dates and that you book the airport pickup by the 6th of September. We'll come over with a bus, pick you up from there, and then drive you back down to Portsmouth to your accommodation. The halls of residence are available from the 9th of September onwards, and international orientation would start on the 11th of September. So the orientation week, for which we'll share a link for the program, if it's ready yet, I'm not sure if it is, then you'll be able to see in advance and prepare and plan what events from the orientation week you want to attend to. I would recommend to do as many as you can, because they're a great way for you to meet new students and to really settle down in the first few days when you arrive here. And induction week also starts on the 11th of September as well. So I will pass over to Anna, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about the application and the visa.
Thank you, Teddy. Yeah, so I'm going to talk to you about making your visa application and the requirements for that. Some of you may have already made your applications, you may be in the process of making your applications. You may have had your visa granted, perhaps at this point, and some of you may not have even got to the point of applying yet. But hopefully I'll be able to cover everything that's required for making a successful visa application. So yeah, Teddy, next slide, please. Teddy's got control of the slides today. Lovely, thank you. So what you need to do, if you haven't done so already, you need to have an unconditional offer to get your CAS statement, which is a document you need to make your visa application. So if we have given you an offer, you need to go into your applicant view and you need to accept that offer. You will also need to upload any required documents in your applicant view. So if you have a conditional offer that requires you to supply us with certain documents or evidence, you need to log into your applicant view and make sure that you've uploaded that. You can't progress to the stage of being unconditional and receiving your CAS unless you've supplied us with all the documents that we've asked for. You do also need to complete the eligibility questionnaire for studying in the UK, or study in the UK eligibility questionnaire, which will ask you a little bit about your immigration history. So it's just for the university to make sure that we can issue you with a CAS statement. You may also need to pay your deposit or provide financial guarantee to be able to get your unconditional offer as well. And then once you've done all of that, once you've met all those steps and you have your unconditional offer, the university can issue you with a CAS statement, and you're then in a position to make your student route visa application. So your CAS will be sent to you via email automatically. You don't have to request it separately, but it's sent to you once you accept your unconditional offer and pay your deposit, and you've provided copies of your passport, which you do as part of the study in the UK eligibility questionnaire. Once you do receive your CAS, what we advise that you do is check all the information on your CAS very carefully. So please do check that your name is spelt correctly, your passport number is correct, and the duration of your course is correct as well. So for example, if you're expecting to do a 4-year course, so a 3-year course with an additional placement year, but the CAS statement only shows a course for 3 years, please do let the CAS correction team know. There'll be instructions in your email when you receive the CAS on how to make any corrections if you see any errors on your CAS. So then what you need to do is you need to prepare your finances. Now for EU students, and probably many of you are thinking now, I don't need to prepare my finances. So most EU students are considered low risk. That's sort of a Home Office definition. And when you're considered low risk, you don't need to submit your bank statements and financial evidence at the point that you initially submit your student route visa application. However, the Home Office do reserve the right to request to see this evidence at any point during the visa application process. So although you do not need to submit it at the point you submit your visa application, you may be asked to show it at any point, and you need to have it. If you don't have it, you can receive a visa refusal. You may go through the entire visa application process and the Home Office don't request to see it, but if they do request to see it and you don't have it, like I said, you're risking a refusal there. So we strongly advise that you prepare your finances before you make your visa application. And what you need to show is evidence that you have access to living costs and tuition fees. That's defined, and I'll go over that in a moment. All your supporting documents must be originals, and anything that's not in English must be translated. Some courses may require an ATAS certificate. Now, if you are required to have an ATAS certificate for your course, this is something that would have been a condition of your offer. So by this point, you should already know if you needed an ATAS certificate and made an application for that. There are some countries that will need to supply a TB test certificate as well. Most EU countries do not, but if you're not sure, you can check on the gov.uk website to confirm if you're required to provide a TB test certificate. As part of the visa application, you need to pay what's called the immigration health surcharge. So you pay the visa application fee, so that's the just standard fee for submitting the application. And in addition to that, you pay the immigration health surcharge, which will give you access to free healthcare once you enter the UK on the National Health Service, or the NHS, as we call it here. As part of the visa application process, you may also be required to undertake a credibility interview, where you're interviewed by a caseworker who's looking at your application from the Home Office, to ensure that you are a credible student coming to the UK to study. Again, this is not too applicable for EU students, as they are generally considered more low risk. But again, if you receive an email from the Home Office asking you to attend a credibility interview, then please do make arrangements to do so, and it'll be a virtual interview process. So I want to talk a little bit more about bank statements, and the reason for this is that bank statements is what we receive, or what students receive, the highest level of refusals on, because they don't have their bank statements in order. So I want to talk a little bit about what you need to show in your bank statement to make it meet the requirements of the Home Office. So you need to show 1 year's worth of tuition fees. So any money that you've already paid to the university, so if you've paid your £3,500 deposit, or however much your deposit payment was, you would take that off the total tuition fees that you owe for the year. This amount should also be stated on your cash statement as well. In addition to your outstanding tuition fees, you also need to show the maintenance fund, and this is £9,207. This amount is defined by the Home Office, and is a minimum amount. You can obviously show more, but you can't show any less. A bank statement can only be in your name or a parent's name, and funds cannot be in bonds, shares, property, or any other inaccessible pots of money. It really needs to be current account or instant access savings. If you are using a bank statement that belongs to your parents, that's okay, but you'll also need a letter from your parents to confirming that they're financially supporting you, and a copy of your birth certificate, which includes your parents' names. If either of these documents, like I said before, are not in English, you will need to have these officially translated. And most importantly, and again, this is one of the things where students often receive refusals, is that the funds must be held in the bank account every day for 28 days, so 28 consecutive days. We've had refusals where students have held the money for 27 days. So they've had enough money in there, but they haven't held the money for long enough. So please ensure that the money is held for 28 consecutive days. The bank statement they're using can also not be older than 1 month. So if you're applying now on the 24th of July, you can't have a bank statement that's dated any older than the 24th of June, for example. There's quite a lot about bank statements, and like I said, that's because they're what we get the most refusals on, so we want to prepare you as best as possible to make a successful visa application. Like I said, funds must be in a personal account. They can't be in a business account. So if yourself or a parent owns a business and they're trying to use that bank statement as evidence of funds, unfortunately, that won't be accepted. It needs to be a personal account. And the funds need to be instantly accessible. So like I said, they can't be tied up in bonds that can't be immediately made available to you. If you're not sure about if you're using obviously a foreign currency that's not British pounds, that's absolutely fine. But if you're not sure what the conversion is into pounds, we recommend that you use Oanda, which is a currency converter that the Home Office uses. So use the same currency converter and you'll be able to see the same outcome that they would. If you're receiving official financial sponsorship, and when we say official financial sponsorship, this means if you are sponsored by your another university, so say you're coming from a university somewhere and they're sending you to us and you're sponsored by them, or perhaps you've got a national government sponsoring you or an international company, you will need a letter from them confirming that they are sponsoring you and the amount that they are sponsoring you for. Any funds that aren't covered by your sponsor will need to be shown in addition in a bank account. So, for example, some sponsors will sponsor students for tuition fees only. And if that was the case, you'd need a sponsor letter to confirm that your tuition fees were being sponsored by your sponsor. And in addition to that, you would need a bank statement that showed that you had the maintenance amount of £9,207. So the Home Office are this can sometimes make things a little bit complicated for students when they're making their application and using a bank statement. Is that the Home Office don't consider funds in a bank account that they can't verify themselves as being a financial institution, then they don't accept that bank statement. So what happens is the Home Office sometimes will reach out to your bank to ask them to verify the statement that you have provided. And if the bank does not respond to that request, the Home Office can sometimes refuse applications. So it's sometimes worth letting your bank know that you're making a visa application and preparing them that they may be contacted by the Home Office and ask them to please reply and confirm that the statement is genuine if they are.
Okay.
Lovely.
Thank you very much, Anna, for this. So, Ruth, if we pass this over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I make a start on this section, guys, about traveling to the UK, I'd like to welcome Radu to join in the group. We finally got him on camera. Radu, I'm not sure if you said earlier, did you? I know you introduced yourself. Did you say what course that you've currently just graduated from as of Friday? Congratulations on your graduation. But can you just say hello now we've got you on camera?
Thank you so much, Ruth. Yeah, so again, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Radu. I've just graduated from a film production course after 3 years. It's been a lovely experience here at Portsmouth at the university, and I feel like so much stuff happened, and I'm happy to go on with my life, and I'm happy to guide you around with any questions you might have at the end.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. Just to reiterate what Theodore said at the very start, if you do have any questions, please do pop them into the Q&A or the chat sections. And between the four of us on the panel here, we can pick those up as we go on and answer those at the end. So maybe they're directly based on something that we've said presenting, or maybe you want to hear more about film production, the course that Radu just graduated from, or living in Portsmouth, or anything you want to ask Radu generally, or something a bit more student related. You know, any questions you have, then give that a go. So in the chat or the Q&A button is probably the better one. We can keep that all consistent, but if not, we'll answer your questions accordingly. So Theodore, if you could click through to the next slide, please, for traveling to the UK. So there are various points to think about when you're thinking about coming to the UK and arranging where you're going to live and stay and getting things organised. So arranging your accommodation. At the various stages of your application, you should receive an email that tells you about booking your student accommodation. Now, we call student accommodation halls of residence. That's basically the big apartments or flats of where you're going to live in our student halls of residence. And there are various names for different blocks, and you can see all of that on our website, and it'll give you some images and some videos either on our YouTube channel or on our main website as well to pick the accommodation of where you want to stay. And the prices of that accommodation do vary, going from the maximum with the ensuite bathrooms down to the lower end of the scale that are perhaps shared bathrooms, for example, and various different price brackets in between. So do take some time to consider that. But always keep an eye on your email. Always have a look in your main regular inbox, but also in your spam and your junk folder as well, because sometimes the emails from a university can go through to your junk folder. So do keep an eye on that as well, because you don't want to miss out on that link about accommodation and then find that you've missed out on an opportunity. But if you don't get into halls of residence, which normally most students do if you respond on time, but there's plenty of private housing in the city as well, again, that the university can help you find. And sometimes, depending on when you come to the UK, like I know one student, for example, I was having a conversation with last week. He's coming earlier in September because he's on a basketball scholarship and basketball training starts. So he needs to be in the UK a bit earlier than everybody else, a couple of weeks later. So he's got an Airbnb in the city, that kind of thing. So think about how you're going to arrange your accommodation and reach out to the accommodation team or us if you have any questions. So like Anna was just saying about your visa, all the points. Hold on, Theodore, I've only done the first points. Don't flick that slide just yet. Too keen. He's too keen to get rid of me. But once you have your visa sorted, your student visa sorted, and wishing you the very best of luck with that, once you've had that sorted, that's when you need to think about booking your flight. We know it's really tempting to book your flights now, perhaps, while they are a bit cheaper, but there's no point in risking losing all that money if your visa still hasn't arrived. And you can't just turn up to the UK and wait for your visa to arrive once you're in the UK. You need to be in your home country to receive that student visa and then travel. And then book your accommodation. No, book your transport. I'm sorry, book your transport to Portsmouth. And I'm going to cover that in a few slides, or Theodore, and one of us covers that in a few slides' time. There's various transport opportunities to get you here to the city. Pack smart and check your luggage allowance. Now, it's tempting to bring everything with you when you are leaving home, possibly for the first time. But Radu, I'd like to bring you into this really. Is there anything that you packed when you were packing to come here 3 years ago? Was there anything that you packed that you've never used or that you regret bringing?
I don't remember exactly if I packed something that I didn't need, because I try to pack like as smart as possible. But just so you know, there are many places in Portsmouth where you can buy like kitchenware and bedding and stuff like that. So there might be the point of getting those things from home, because they're reasonably priced as well. I expected the UK to be like more expensive, way more expensive than my home country. Now, you know, it's good to check. But it's many things you can get from here as well. You don't need to overpack. And I would have a few packing tips as well for you. If you bring clothes, it's best to use vacuum bags or to roll them up instead of
Nice.
folding them. It
Okay,
saves
clever.
yeah, it saves space in the baggage.
Okay, great. And on that note, actually, I should have asked you about accommodation. Did you stay
Yes.
in our halls of residence, Radu, or did you have private housing? What's been your experience living here in Portsmouth?
I've had I've stayed at the house of accommodation in the first year at Bates and Halls. It was a decent accommodation, although very small. I felt the need to move to private accommodation in the second year, but it wasn't bad. I've met friends that I still am friends with there, and the house of residence is a very good place to like meet people and hopefully friends that will stay with you for the rest of the years at uni. Sadly, I came in the year when the pandemic was a thing, and I stayed home for most of the time, but I recommend the house of residence from this social point of view.
Okay, yeah, in normal times when there's not a huge global pandemic. Oh, awful times. So you were at Bates and Hall, Redu, and was that an ensuite bathroom or was it a shared bathroom arrangement?
It was a shared bathroom arrangement, but I didn't mind. The flats were flats of 5 people, same-sex accommodation. So like I stayed with 4 more guys, and they were mostly clean. Obviously, there's are a few disagreements here and there when you live in a shared house or a shared apartment, but with communication, there's nothing you can't sort out.
Okay,
And
great.
if say someone is not like very clean or messes up the house or something like that, I think the student housing service can help you with these issues.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So the student housing team are kind of like your main point of contact if you do have any issues with the housing. But generally speaking, I haven't personally heard of any horror stories, and people do, like Radu says, you're living closely together, but you find a way to work things out. And just quickly, Radu, still on the housing, so you had private accommodation in your second year. Did the university help you find that?
No, I've actually found it. I mean, a colleague of mine found it on a Facebook group as a private landlord. So there's private landlords as well as agencies, which tend to be not my thing really. I can't really talk about agencies, but personally, I prefer reaching out to a private landlord if you look for private accommodation.
Okay.
And I recommend doing house viewings a lot if you look for private accommodation. So just
Recommend
see
what?
the
Sorry,
house first.
say that again. Sorry, recommend
House viewings. So
house
go to the house, arrange a house viewing with the agent or the landlord, and see the house for yourself and see like if it's very livable there, if it's worth it.
Okay.
And compare.
Yeah, compare them. Yeah, absolutely. Do your research, basically, because you're going to be living there and paying those bills for the next year. So, okay,
Yes.
good. Thank you, Radu. That's great. Okay, so I'll keep this moving on, sorry. So the other final points on this slide are, please do not bring any food or plants with you. It is nice to have a little plant maybe in your room, but there's plenty of places in Portsmouth and the surrounding suburbs to buy some nice greenery for your new home. But you can always keep a close eye and check on our website for more information and more details of any of these facts here. The little point at the top here on the right hand corner, it says write down the University of Portsmouth global contact details and keep these with you if you need to contact us on arrival. So you'll have a point of contact within the global department, or these general, as you can see, this number, the University of Portsmouth global number, and also on that email address as well. So if you want to quickly write that down, or maybe take a picture with your phone, but we will be sharing this presentation anyway, so you'll have chance to make a note of that. So that's that slide. Thank you, Theodore. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the really, I mean, this whole presentation is important, but these I think are really important bits of information because it's when you actually arrive to Portsmouth. And we are offering an airport pickup service. And Theodore did go into this in a little bit of detail at the start. But we have the coach, or some people call it a bus service, that we're offering to pick you up from London Heathrow Airport. How very kind of us. But there is a small charge for that. I think it's about £25, Anna? 25, 30? £25. Anna's nodding, it's £25 per person. But that is cheaper than a regular train ticket and maybe even a coach ticket actually as well. And also it's really convenient. You will literally see any of us at the airport, depending on what shift we're on, and we'll be wearing all university t-shirts and holding signs, so you'll know to come and find us. And those times on the 9th, which is a Saturday, and Sunday, the 10th of September. So it's just those 2 days available at 10 o'clock in the morning or at 6 p.m. at night. So you need to book those tickets in advance, and we will then be there to greet you. Now, if your flight, say, lands at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you might as well book yourself on for the 6 p.m. Maybe it arrives 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's your choice then, because that's perhaps a time to avoid really, because you'll either be hanging around the airport or at an unusual time of day trying to find a public train or a public bus to get you to Portsmouth, and that can be quite difficult. So try and book the best flight for you that can kind of get you in line with these coach times, or that's going to be a safe time of day for you to arrive into the country and then traveling when you're tired, maybe from a very long flight as well. You want to be kind of making this arrival as easy as possible. So they're the times to think about, and the 2 dates to think about. If you do arrive after those days, I think the 9th and 10th of September, and maybe someone can tell me please, from the panel, is that the move-in same week, the only weekend students can move in? Or the first weekend, I should say.
It's the absolute, if they're in halls of residence, like student accommodation owned by the university, then that's the earliest that they can move in is the Saturday, the 9th. Yeah.
Thank you. Great. Okay, so you can obviously move in after that time, but you can't move in any earlier than the 9th. But if you do arrive into the UK after the 10th, you can get from any of the London airports, from London Gatwick or London Heathrow airports, by the National Express coach, which is a slightly cheaper way to travel. It can take a bit longer, but a student said to me last week, she prefers the coach because she chose to sleep. She was arriving from the Dominican Republic. She was pretty tired from a long flight. So she chose to sit on the coach from London Gatwick and travel straight directly to Portsmouth, because that's going to be the end of the line. If you're on a train and you fall asleep, you could end up anywhere. So that's just something to think about. But trains are generally a bit quicker. There's a direct train from London Gatwick straight to Portsmouth and Southsea. Southsea is like the borough of Portsmouth where it's very close to the university. So the closest train station for you really is Portsmouth and Southsea. That's what the train station that you need. And that's a direct train from London Gatwick. If you're arriving into London Heathrow, you can also, of course, get the train, but it's not directly from the airport. You would have to get the London Underground Tube from Heathrow all the way to London Waterloo, which is kind of West London anyway. So it's kind of the right side of London. But you need to get the Underground to London Waterloo and then a train from London Waterloo again to Portsmouth and Southsea. That's fairly straightforward. But if you've got a fairly big bag, that's a bit awkward. And again, if you're tired after a long journey, that can actually be a bit of a hassle. So maybe think about the best option for you. You can book a taxi in advance. You can get a taxi, of course, from any of the airports as well. We recommend maybe booking that in advance with a local Portsmouth taxi company. They are called, as you can see on the screen here, they are called Aqua Cars. And they can do a slightly cheaper option of maybe 80 or 90 pounds, I think, something like that. There is a link on our website to give you some more details for that. But a big thing here to point out, the final point here, do not, written in big bold letters, please do not take a London airport taxi, because that could easily cost you over £200. So that's just a warning. I have got an Uber before from Gatwick, I think, London Gatwick. Yes, it was Gatwick. And that cost me, I think, 85, 90 pounds. So similar cost to Aqua Cars, but better to book in advance because they can then text you when that taxi has been dispatched. They can give you that car registration number. They often will meet you at the airport actually as well. You'll feel like a VIP. It's quite nice, but there's just an option there for you if that's affordable. If not, like I say, the National Express coach or the train line train service. And those last two can be booked through an app on your phone, and that's called Train Line. So Train Line, and that is where you can book online and get your QR code, to access as your ticket for the coach and the train service. Thank you, Theodore. Next slide. Okay, some top tips here. Do not bring a lot of cash with you. We have ATMs, we have cash points here in the city, of course, and it's just safer not to have a lot of cash with you. Yes, bring a bit, in case, maybe £200, something like that, maybe just to keep you going until you have your bank account set up. We recommend that you pay your tuition fees or accommodation fees electronically using your applicant view. So don't bring a load of cash with you to pay your student fees, of course. You can do that through your applicant view. So bring a small amount of cash for the first month, like I mentioned, but also bring maybe a credit card or a traveller's checks as backups, really. Radu, just quickly on that point, when you arrived to the UK, you don't have to tell us how much, but how was it for you? Did you bring cash with you?
Do you mean like transport-wise?
No, just when you first came to the city, just to buy your first amount of groceries, for example.
Yeah, I must have had like 100 something cash,
Okay.
or maybe a bit more, just because I had to self-isolate for 2 weeks in the accommodation. Yeah, that was an experience, but glad it's over and you won't have to do that.
Yeah.
I pay like everything by card. Rarely I use cash, just for my bills top up. Some private accommodations, you know, you need to pay with cash still, but there's nothing to worry about cash if your card works in UK.
Okay.
I would say rely mostly on card and maybe bring like a small amount of cash, as you said, to get you going, maybe to learn the coins, the currency.
Yeah,
That's
good idea.
helpful.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, thank you. Next clip, please, Teddy. Thank you. And so setting up a bank account, we can help you do that. Anna mentioned about the orientation week and the induction weeks, you know, that kind of thing we can help you do in the first few weeks of term, but it can take 2 weeks or longer to get that set up. So, you know, you might want to think about bringing that cash with you just to keep you going until your bank account is set up. But as Radu says, most students do use a debit card or paying through your mobile card, making mobile card payments now as well from a UK bank account in place of cash. Next click, please. And just a quick point here, please note that cash worth more than 10,000 euros, including other currency as well, if it's brought into the UK from outside the European Union, it must be declared to customs. Now, that doesn't perhaps account here, but even 10,000 euros is a lot of money, obviously, you know that. And I personally think that's unnecessary. You wouldn't need to bring that much money anyway, but just keep that in mind, that if you are bringing that kind of money, which we don't recommend, but if you are, then it needs to be declared through customs. Thank you, Theodore. Okay, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ruth, for this. So the next section, we'll talk a little bit about joining the university, and more about what to do when you arrive. So the first thing to do when you arrive, which is something that not many students do, is to tell your family and parents back home that you have arrived safely. We see a lot of students sometimes, and we get calls from parents saying, "What happened to my student? Have they arrived? They haven't told me." It turns out they've already registered. The student life and everything in Portsmouth have just have taken them by, them being owed by everything, and they just forgot to call home and say that they've arrived safely. So please, when you come over, send your family a text, give them a call, tell them that you're fine, tell them everything is okay, so that they're not worried and they're not thinking about what is going on. The next thing to do would be to register onto your course. Now, this is something that you'll be able to do during the orientation week at some point. And our team will be here on campus. If you're not sure exactly where you need to go, come over to us, and we will point you in the right direction. There will be a lot of people around the campus and where the university is, dressed in purple. They'll be directing new students. They'll be helping out with telling you where exactly you need to go. There'll be a lot of events happening. So don't worry about knowing now exactly where you need to go. Just remember that you have to register on your course as soon as you arrive and as soon as that is possible. So the next thing, as I mentioned already, would be to attend. Actually, for your registration, I think, Anna, correct me again if I'm wrong here, but the part of that you can do online through your applicant view portal. And that is the first part of registration. Then the next part of registration, I believe, is on campus once you arrive here. So make sure that if there's something that you need to do previously before you arrive on your applicant view, make sure you do that as soon as that is available to you. So keep checking your applicant view portal for anything new that you have to do there. So the next thing to do would be to attend the orientation and the welcome events. As I mentioned, we organize the airport pickups, we organize afternoon tea and cake events, we have movie nights, we have campus tours, where current students will show you around the campus and around the city as well. Make the most of those events, because that is your best way for you to meet new students straight away, make friends at the beginning. And that's going to really help you with tackling nostalgia and then really finding your environment as soon as you can. Radu, do you want to come in here and tell a little bit about your orientation experience, either as a student or as a student ambassador? What is your general overview of it?
I think the orientation events are a lovely way to meet new people once you get there. Other international students, especially, join these events. And I haven't really joined them myself as a student, but I've joined them as an international ambassador, which means basically that I've helped organize the events and tend the students, as in help them get into the event and help them around. So a few of these events might include movie nights, cake nights, cake socials, or other similar sort of events, campus tours, city center tours, which I help do as well. And that's a very nice way to know your city. If you're not big into Google Maps or something, just going there and seeing it all, it's I think is the best thing. So join campus tours and city center tours and seafront tours if they still do it.
Okay, thank you, Radu. And I would also suggest that over in that first week when you arrive, it is very likely that's when Freshers Week will also take place. And Freshers Week is where a lot of the student clubs and societies that we have at the university would have a stand there, and you'll be able to go and talk to them, find out more about what they are doing, what activities they can help you get involved in. And this is something that is very unique to UK universities. And as a former EU student myself, I never expected to see so many different clubs and societies are part of the university that we have here. Anything that is sports related, football, basketball, volleyball, tennis, martial arts, all kinds of sports that you can, swimming as well, that you can think of. But also we also have a lot of national societies, societies from students from different countries who are getting together to celebrate their national holidays, to kind of create their own environments. We do have a Greek and Cypriot society that you can join if you want to. There is a Czechoslovakian society as well that's been quite active recently over the last few years. There is also a Scandinavian society, which is fairly new, that welcomes all students from Scandinavia. So if you're interested in getting involved and finding more students from your countries and want to spend some time with them and find out about what activities they get up to, please do go and speak to them. And do get involved as much as you can. University is a great place for you to learn, to enhance your academic skills and to get your degree, but also a fantastic place to meet new people from all over the world and to really start friendships that you will then carry on for a lot longer and a lot further into the future. Keep checking your applicant view, as I mentioned, for when you need to pay your tuition fees. It will tell you there the deadline, the expected date where you need to pay that, and it will also have the contact details of the income team. So if you need to get in touch with them and talk about your payment plan, or if you're having any issues with that, they will be the team to help you. But don't forget that you will need at some point to pay your tuition fees. And of course, attend your department and your course induction. So the first week of study, you will get to meet all your lecturers or your classmates from your course, and they will talk to you about themselves. The lecturers will talk about themselves. They will talk about the course in general and what you can expect over the next year. You're very likely to have your timetable ready at that point, so you'll be able to see for the whole year exactly when you will have classes and lectures, and you can plan your either part-time work or you can plan any other activities around that timetable, but you have it for years ahead and you can plan on what to do when you have some free time or if you want to do something else. And also you can plan your holidays and so on. So all of that should be on your student portal, so you will get that information there. As we talked about already about orientation, it is a great way and a lot of events that will help you to settle in and meet new people. Radu and I already talked about the campus tours and the city tours that you can get involved with to get to find out more about Portsmouth, more about the campus, where you are, to get your bearings, so to speak. Then the movie nights and the social events, again, don't miss out on those. Make sure on the program that if you have to book like your space on them that you actually do. Sometimes we have too many students, so we're not able to accommodate everyone. So make sure that you have to book your place. You do that through the relevant links. And we also have welcome and introductory workshops. So there will be a big welcome presentation from one of our directors who will welcome you to the university. There will be some important details for you to find out from them. And I think some of us will be around as well to say hi and to kind of welcome you on in Portsmouth too. So make sure you come and talk to us. And if you see anybody dressed in purple, this will be our ambassadors. That Radu is part of that team. So feel free to go and talk to them, ask them about their experience, ask them about any questions you might have, and they should be able to help you out with those. And the full program, as I mentioned earlier, will be on this link here. So it's port.ac.uk/orientation. You'll be able to see all the events, the exact dates and times, and how you can get involved with them. We also have a lot of student support services and teams within the university whose job is to make your experience and your time at Portsmouth easier and to help you with any issues that you may have. So there is a student wellbeing service that helps students who are struggling or are finding it difficult or they're feeling down or a bit not motivated enough or they need to speak to somebody. We do understand that you live far away from home. For most of you, this will be the first time that you're leaving your home and you're living in a different country, entirely different culture. You don't have many contacts, so it might be scary, overwhelming in the beginning. So if you're feeling that something is not working for you or that's something that you're not feeling great, that student wellbeing service can help you. And also if anything, any emergencies or any urgent things happen at home and you just want to talk to somebody, they are the people that you can go and talk to. This is their job to make sure that you have somebody to talk to and to seek help if it's possible. We also have a multi-faith chaplaincy. So if religion is very and faith is very important to you, there is a team who you can go to. This is for any faith, any religion that you are following. So you can go and talk to them. And also if you're not into faith or religion, but you still want to find a really nice and comfortable space and people to talk to, they are very happy to welcome new students and talk to them. You will also have personal tutors. So this is another person that's more closely related to your academic faculty that will generally keep an eye on your progression. If you have any problems or any issues with the course specifically, you can go and talk to them as well. The student finance team, anything that's related to student finance, from if you're not sure how to budget your own money, or if you are having issues and problems with any things like student loans or student funding or anything like that, they are the people who you can go and talk to. I already mentioned about the career and support guidance service that we have. They're fantastic in preparing students for employment. And this also means that if you want to work while you're studying at the university and you want to get some part-time job opportunities, they are the team to go and talk to. They can help you with your CVs, or they can do practice mock interviews with you just to get your practice going and to get your experience and confidence in applying for a job, going to an assessment center or doing an interview, everything like that. If you're willing to do a placement, they also can help you with preparation for your placement interviews and also for your job after you graduate. And their services you can access for 5 years after you graduate for free. So you don't have to pay anything for any of that. The academic skills support units are specifically there to help you if you're not sure about how to write essays. The university level in the UK is slightly different than your high schools or your universities back home. So if you're not sure how to do presentations, or if you're struggling writing essays or courseworks, they can help you with that technical part on how to make your arguments better, more sophisticated, and just really increase your level of writing, speaking, presenting, anything that you may need. The Maths Cafe is another really nice place to go to if maths is something you're really passionate about, that you can get involved with. LinkedIn Learning, I believe as a student, you will get a lot of access to online courses on LinkedIn Learning. I do recommend making most of that. The in-sessional English program. If you're still struggling with your English, or you're not confident about it, or you're not really you're not thinking that you're going to do really well with the English language specifically, that team can help you. And this is additional courses that you can sign up to during your course to improve and focus specifically on your English. And the faculty hubs and the faculty engagement officers are another set of teams that you can talk to that's specifically related to your faculty, and they can get you in touch with anyone that you might need at the university. So this is a whole range of many different teams that are spaced out in the university, whose entire purpose is to help you to get a better time here, to get better at anything that you want to get better at from that list. But really the main point here is that if you're struggling with anything at any point, talk to us, talk to those teams. I know in some of your cultures, it is not culturally accepted back home to go and ask for help and ask for people to help you and support you. But here we've made sure that everybody from all those cultures is supported and does have anybody to speak to in case they need it. So don't just suffer in silence if anything happens. Come over and speak to us. There are people who are willing, and they'll be more than happy to help you with anything. Anna, do you want to talk a little bit about the graduate immigration route?
Yes, I'm very happy to talk about the graduate immigration route. So the graduate immigration route is something that students can apply for once you complete your course. So you must have completed your course successfully. It's something that you can apply for that can allow you to remain in the UK for 2 years if you're studying an undergraduate or postgraduate course, or for 3 years if you're studying a PhD, so a research course. It's not a visa that's granted automatically. It is something that you need to apply for separately, and you need to become eligible for it when you're coming towards completing your course. So you need to meet all the requirements, and one of those is having a valid student route visa, and like I said, completing the course and being awarded. So not just finishing and your course end date passing, but also being the exam board sitting, and awarding you your degree. What's very important is if you do not successfully complete your course within the original course start and with the original course end date as stated on your CAS statement, this can sometimes jeopardize your eligibility for graduate immigration route. So we do strongly recommend that you do complete your course within your original course dates, or if there's any problems or if any concerns about this, to come and speak to us straight away, so that we can advise you accordingly. You need to hold a student route visa and study in the UK for specified periods of time. So if you're on a course that's 12 months or less, you need to have studied the whole course in the UK. If you're on a course of 12 months or more, you must have studied at least 12 months in the UK. Now that's slightly more relevant for during the COVID period, when remote study was a possibility, and that obviously is not a possibility any longer. So the majority of people will be in the UK for the entirety of their course. We do have further information on UKISA. Now, UKISA is the UK Council for International Student Affairs. They're a national body who support international students coming to study in the UK, and they have very comprehensive guidance on their website on the graduate immigration route. So we do recommend having a look at that page if it is something that you're thinking of doing. Right now, it's too early. You definitely can't apply for graduate immigration route now, but if you are thinking of it as a possibility for when you do complete your studies, find out a little bit about it now, so that you're prepared when the time comes.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna. That brings us to the end of the presentation and the slides that we had prepared for you. So now, if you have any questions, feel free to put them on the Q&A section, and we will have a look at them and reply. If there are any questions that are kind of more specific for your case or your documents or your particular visa, if we cannot answer them live, we will take them offline, we'll reach out to you by email and confirm what the situation is with you. Before we do that, Radu, is there anything that you wanted to share or talk about that is now that you've already graduated, looking back on the 3 years that you spent at Portsmouth, is there anything that you would advise the students at the moment? Like if you could go back and give yourself an advice 3 years ago, what would that be?
Make the most out of the services that the university provides. If you're in a creative sort of course, like I was in film production, make the most out of the equipment the uni provides to you. Like, for example, for me, it was cameras and lighting equipment and audio equipment and all of that. Because once you're out of university, you will not be able to easily get them anymore. You'll have to go to like proper rental houses and stuff, but the university provides it for free. If the course provides you with such equipment. Another thing is try to make friends. Like even me as an introvert, I would have tried to socialize a bit more in my first year, join societies, and yeah, in the end, like even though I was like an introvert in my first year and didn't really get out of my comfort zone to chat with many people, I still made very good friends in the first year. It just happened. So regards to that, I think you'll be fine. And other things I wanted to mention at some point when Ruth was talking about getting to Portsmouth. So just so you know how it was for me, when I first came here, I used a sort of shuttle/taxi service to get to Portsmouth from London Heathrow. But the catch is I was with 3 other friends from my high school who ended up joining at the same university. So that was an advantageous ride that was very convenient. But I would say, if possible, so you can easily reach Portsmouth for free, for cheap. You can just try to land at Gatwick Airport, which is the closest, and there's a direct train, which is £20 at most. You can find it cheaper, but that's the fastest route from an airport to Portsmouth. Any questions?
Fantastic. Thank you, Radu. Ruth, is there something you wanted to say? I saw you unmute your mic.
We haven't had a chance to answer yet. Anna's kindly been answering a lot. In fact, got a lot of questions come through. Did you want me to look at the ones that we still haven't answered, Theodore, and we'll start going through those?
I've got a couple. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Anna. No, go ahead.
I've got a couple. I've seen a couple of duplicates. So well, not duplicates, but people asking the same thing. So I just wanted to cover those because it seems that people are quite keen to know the answers to those ones. So a couple of people have asked about the money in the bank account. So the money needs to be there for 28 days, not 24 days. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to post a link in the chat. And hopefully you can all see that. Now, that is a link to our website with all the visa and immigration information for applying for a student route visa on it. And that details what we've just been through in the presentation about how much money is needed. So please do access that link on there. There was another couple about bank accounts, opening a bank account. So you do need to be in the UK to be able to open a bank account. You also usually need to have registered at the university and obtained a bank letter, which you can do through your university student view once you've completed your registration. I can see also that someone asked about registration. They said, do we need to register online before registration in person? That's a really good question. And that's really important, actually, because yes, you do need to register online first. And then you'll need to come to the university in person with your identity documents and do your in-person ID check, which completes the registration. So from the 26th of August, emails will be going out to all new students, inviting you to complete your online registration. Not every single person will be receiving that email on the 26th of August because we have thousands of emails to send out, but it'll be from the 26th of August onwards, you will receive an email inviting you to complete your online registration, and that's the first step in the process. So you do that online, then obviously you need to come and do your in-person registration. So I hope that answers that question for you. I can see another couple of people have asked about moving into the halls of residence. A lot of the contracts are saying that they start on the 16th of September. Some of their student halls of residence, but they're run by private companies. So they'll say the 16th of September. Now, what you can do is you can contact them directly and ask them if you can move in earlier. We were assured by all private university halls of residence in the area that move-in would be, or the rooms would be available from the 11th of September, but there may be a small additional cost. So you can contact your accommodation provider and ask them what the earliest you can move in is, which is usually be the 9th of September, and they can also provide you with the additional cost to that. So that should provide you with somewhere to move into, like I said, small additional cost. Registration starts up, in-person registration starts on the 11th of September, but goes on until the latest date of registration, which for most courses is the 6th of October. So it opens, in-person registration opens on the 11th of September and closes on the 6th of October for most courses. If you're not sure, the latest date of registration should be stated on your CAS statement as well.
I just wanted to come in here and answer Robin's question about the career team. And Robin is asking, do you think the career team can help with questions working from another country while studying in the UK as well? Although I don't think they specialize in working advice abroad, over the years, I know that they have accumulated a lot of contacts and a lot of a great network of companies and partners that we work with internationally, not only in the UK. So if you're considering going to a different country to work after you graduate, I would still go and talk to them and tell them what your ideas are, what your plan is, what you're thinking. And then I'm sure there will be something that they'll be able to offer in terms of advice, in terms of preparation, because in many places, the practices of hiring people are very similar. If they're not exactly the same, then there will be some similarities. And in the end of the day, it's all about the transferable skills that you can show an employer, and these tend to be something that any career team can help you with. So anything that you're not sure about and you want to find out more about, I would still recommend when you come over, go and talk to them, tell them your plan, and then I'm sure they'll have something for you. Anna, do you want to answer? Oh, you're typing an answer. Sorry, I thought you wanted to answer live. Okay, that's fine. There's another question about, are the £3,500 will be deducted when showing the funds for the visa?
Yes, they will.
It will be.
So that's only for tuition fees. So for example, say your tuition fees were £15,000, and you'd already paid £3,500 deposit. Take away 3,500 from 15,000, and that's the total amount you need to show for your tuition fees. In addition to that amount is the maintenance amount of 9,207. That doesn't really change. That's a minimum amount, basically.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to take that question from Laura, Anna? I'm not sure about. Sorry, not that one. The one from Elizabeth, which is about the funds and the 28 days before the university starts.
Okay, so Elizabeth has asked, if I don't get my grades until the 17th of August, I don't have time to go to the UK and set up an account to have the funds. Okay, no, so the funds can be, they don't have to be in a UK account. They can be in a bank account in your home country. So I think it's very unlikely that any of you, well, possibly may have a UK bank account at this time, but the Home Office doesn't expect you to show funds in a UK account. They are expecting they will probably expect the funds from an account in your home country, and it can be in your home currency as well. It's just if the bank statement that you get printed by your bank isn't in English, so it's not the wording on the statement isn't in English, you'd need it officially translated, or you could ask your bank if they can also provide a statement in English, which some banks in some countries are able to provide that. So you don't need to come to the UK and set up an account. The money needs to be shown in an existing account that you have now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Anna. Hello, I'm a student from Spain, which means I had to translate a lot of documents to upload to the applicant portal. I posted the original translations to a friend of mine in the UK. Do you think I should ask my friend to post the documents to my place in Spain in order to apply for the visa? When you say post, if you mean actually sending them by post, I don't think there's any documents that need to be sent via post. Everything can be done digitally. Is that correct, Anna, for the visa application?
Yes, everything for the visa application can be done digitally. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. And all your other documents in terms of qualifications and IELTS and all of these things can also be originals and translations. You can just scan them and send them on your applicant view or via email. You don't have to post anything physically, paper-wise. It can all be done digitally. I'm going to start studying architecture, but I didn't find any information about the materials I need to bring. Do you guys know where to find that information? So yes, I can send you, I'll put a link into the chat for the architecture website in terms of what you can find. But there's also, we do have like a CCI shop on campus. So any materials that you might need, you can buy from here. I'm not sure if there's anything specific that you want to bring from Sweden or from wherever you're coming from yourself. Anna, you said you wanted to add on something on this one. Is that right?
No, I know.
No, okay, because I can see the notification here on the
No,
thing.
I was
That's
just
fine.
making sure it was moving.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So I will find the link right now, Robin, and I will post it in the chat.
I can see someone's asked, what is the registration period start for PGCE students? That may be slightly earlier, but I'm not exactly sure. This should be, however, stated in your offer letter. So your course, in your offer letter, it should have your course start date. And the course start date is when registration in-person registration starts. So please do have a look at your offer letter. Someone has asked, so we can show we have 9K in our account for 24 days. No, that's not correct. You need to have, it's 28 days, actually not 24 days, and that's really important. Anything less than 28 days will result in a visa refusal. I can tell you that now. Even 27 days, you'll get a visa refusal. So it must be minimum 28 days. And it's not 9K, it's £9,207 of maintenance. Plus, so in addition to the maintenance amount of £9,207, any outstanding tuition fees for the first year of your course. And someone has asked, we can't have friends or family in the UK sponsoring us. Yes, that's correct. You cannot be sponsored by friends or family in the UK.
Okay. I am having some problems finding that link, but I will send it to you, Robin. I've made a note, so I will send that to you after we finish with the webinar. So I believe this is all the questions that we had. Is there anything else that we want to add in the end? Ruth, Anna, Radu, anything you want to add before we go? Or any final statements?
Hey, we can't wait to see you. You know, we're so excited about welcoming you to our university. You know, it's a very exciting time of year, and we hope that you're excited to come.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think many students see orientation as a sort of optional thing, and yes, technically it is optional. We're not forcing you to come, but I think, and maybe Radu can say a little bit here as well, is that it really adds a lot of value and really helps students to settle into their experience in the UK. So we really ask that you don't see it as a sort of optional thing. We sort of see it as an integral part of your whole university experience. So if you can sort of, you know, do attend orientation if you can.
A couple of last minute questions that popped up on the chat.
Okay, yeah. So the necessary funds must not be touched for 28 days prior to the application. So you can, so the bank account that you have the funds in, that bank account can be used and you can take money in and out, and that's absolutely fine. But the balance in the account, so the total amount of money that's in the account as you're making transactions, cannot go below the minimum required amount. And as I've explained, the minimum required amount is the maintenance of 9,207 plus the remaining tuition fees. So you can add money in the account, you can spend money on the account, that's not a problem, as long as the balance never dips below the minimum required amount across that 28-day period.
Funding, so having to make sure that this person saying that they have government funding, they don't have to prove that they don't have to have it in a bank account. That's correct, but we need an official letter from that sponsor. So we need to have an official dated and stamped documentation, confirming the exact amount that they're sponsoring you for and detailing what that's going to cover. So hopefully your tuition fees and hopefully your living expenses as well, because that letter needs to match the requirements of what we would need if you weren't a sponsored student.
Okay. Did the university have a Facebook group you recommend to join? Is the global community Facebook group still active? Yeah.
I'm just getting the link now. I'll
Perfect.
put it in the chat for everybody and just make sure everyone can see it. Yeah, I've popped it in the chat. So we do have a Facebook group. We call it Global Community. So please do join. You can start posting on there if you want, meeting new people before you arrive. That's absolutely fine. We are also looking at having an Instagram account as well. So watch this space for that.
Okay. A couple more questions related to the bank account funds. Is there a problem if the bank account funds are in my stepfather's account, so it is not on my birth certificate?
Okay, so this is a very good question. So if it's a step parent, what you need to show, and obviously they're not on your birth certificate, you need a document that shows that they are your legal guardian. So it needs to be a court issued document. It can't be what is called an affidavit, which is something a lawyer or a solicitor can write up. It has to be a document issued by a court that confirms that that person is your legal guardian. Exactly. Yeah, and that's I mean, in many countries that the surnames are different anyway for parents and their children. So that's completely normal. And it's very, very common for families to have different parents, but they need that legal paperwork that confirms that they are their legal guardian, basically. Yeah.
I can see a question here as well saying, can we rent accommodation before having our visa approved? Is it advisable to do this? I personally would say no, because it's a risky, you'll have to pay a deposit on that accommodation. And if your visa doesn't arrive, you could potentially lose some money. But Anna, what do you think on that one?
That's probably the hardest one, actually, I think, because accommodation is really can be quite a stressful thing to get sorted, and you want to just sort it, make sure you have somewhere to live. But obviously, like you said, Ruth, there is that risk that if your visa is refused for whatever reason, you've paid a deposit on your accommodation that you're not able to get back, or other complications. I would say most applications coming from the EU, from EU countries, are generally fairly, like I said, they're low risk. So there is a very low risk of a refusal or any issues on there. It's really difficult. It's really your choice whether you decide to commit to something before your visa is granted or you decide to wait till after.
Another thing on that topic was just wanted to reiterate, please make sure that you travel to the UK after your visa is approved. And once it gets approved, do not come to the UK before that's happened, because that means you have to return and apply for a new visa. So make sure you get your visa and then travel to the UK.
Yes, do not travel to the UK without first having your visa granted.
I think there's a clear message there, guys. Radu, do you want to say that as well, just in case? I'm kidding. No, it's a good message though, because it's so important.
I can't have a word of that because I didn't need a visa.
Radu was very lucky. He applied before Brexit.
Yeah. Will it be a problem if a visa isn't granted until after the 18th of September, so the first lectures can't be attended?
So yeah, if there is a delay in your visa being granted, you can reach out to us and request late registration. So you do need to try to be here for the 18th because that is when classes will start. So it is important to be on time. But obviously, we do understand that there can be delays with visa applications, sometimes particularly at busy times of year. So if you do find that that's the case, please just reach out to us to request late registration, and we can advise you on how to go about doing that.
Okay. That first one about the funding, Anna,
Yeah,
is that correct?
yeah. Needs to stay and not be touched for 28 days. That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. When and how do I pay the deposits for the accommodation as well as the course? So the deposit for the course, if you're paying the tuition fees yourself, will have to be paid before you get the CAS letter. You cannot get your CAS letter without paying the £3,500 deposit if you're paying the money yourself. If you're a sponsored student, then we would need a letter showing and that sponsorship, and then that letter will serve as replaces the payment of the deposit that you would have to pay otherwise. In terms of the accommodation, then that is something that if it's university accommodation, it will be explained to you in the email that you receive from the accommodation team. And then if it's private accommodation as a shared house, then it will be something that you sort out either with the landlord directly or with the agency that is looking after renting that flat. But normally they ask for a deposit before you sign a contract. Can the number of installments of the course and the accommodation be increased? Now, again, there are two different things. So the installment for your course will depend on the payment plan that you will have set up with income. So if you want to explore a specific payment plan for you, then this is a question for the income team. And I will type their email address in the chat now. So you can arrange that with them and see if they can prepare a plan for you. For accommodation, that's a separate thing. So this will be either your accommodation or your private house, whichever you end up renting. And again, that's a conversation that you will need to have with them because that depends entirely on them. Yes, that I think we already answered this one just now. Okay. I think that's it. I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you everyone for staying until the end. If you need any more information, make sure you use the website. Make sure that you email us at global@port.ac.uk for any generic questions. There's a couple more that have just come in. That's not a problem. Do you get many mature students? Yes, we do, I believe. I believe we do. There are quite a few of them, obviously from various countries and from various places. So you would not stand out. You would definitely not be the only mature student on campus. That's for sure. I'm so sorry for so many questions. No, that's not a problem. That's the point of the webinar after all. 9,207 isn't the full cost of the year of study. There is plus 6,400.
So the 9,207 is the maintenance requirement. So the 9,207 has got nothing to do with the tuition fees. It's an amount of money that the Home Office have decided that people need to live in the UK. So it's not for your tuition fees, it's for living. So rent, food, transport, that sort of thing. So the 9,207 is a minimum amount for living costs. And then in addition to that, you need to show the outstanding tuition fees. So if your outstanding tuition fee amount is 6,400, you need to add that to the 9,207, and that's the total minimum amount you need to show in the bank account for 28 days. I can just see another one here. Do you know if a visa is more likely to be rejected if you have been visiting the UK as a tourist quite often? No, not as far as I'm aware. If you have adhered or kept to the rules of the visa, and like you said, you haven't overstayed ever, then that's not a problem at all. We shouldn't be seen as a problem.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Is there a group to join to start know each other's? Yes, that would be the Facebook group that Anna posted in the chat. So it's UOP Global Community, and you can join the Facebook group there, and most of the other students will be joined there. Yeah, so again, thank you all for coming. And if you need us, email us at global@port.ac.uk, and then hopefully we see you in September.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you in
Bye-bye.
September.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.